Alrighty, so my name's Jordan Jensen. For those who don't know me, I'm an EAM functional consultant here with Digital Thinker. We're going to be going through session 2 of our digital work mini series we have. So our first series, we kind of talked about what are some of the differences between, the other HxGN EAM mobile apps, mobile offline. You've got your HxGN disconnected, connected mode, but then also introducing digital work, HxGN's premier mobile app, and seeing what that can do for you. Alex is going to go ahead and, if he hasn't already, send a link into the chat just of some of the available screens you have with digital work, with the different types of apps that digital work allows. Just in case you missed last week, for a little bit of a recap, just going through that, you can also check out our YouTube channel as well that will have that. So this week, what we want to talk about is going through kind of the menu setup, teach you a little few tricks and kind of different ways you can set up your menu depending on what maybe user group you have or what users are using this digital work in your app today. So we'll just go ahead and dive right on in and get started. So we'll just do a brief menu setup overview, and then we're going to spend most of this time going through a demo, going through the different menu setup options, going through both the desktop and the digital work app as well. So our menu setup overview, this is going to be very similar to what you have with your desktop menu setup today. What they did differently with digital work compared to your mobile offline is it's going to be a very similar setup. It's going to be a tab on your user group screen. So for each user group, you're going to have a different digital work menus design if you want that. It's going to be similar setup to the menus tab for your desktop. You'll be able to create main menu folders, sub-menu folders, and you'll have the ability to copy a menu, show, hide menu items, pretty much exactly what you had today with your desktop menu. And with that being said, we'll just go right ahead and dive on into the demo part. So I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop EAM version app here. All right. So one thing I just wanted to mention, as we're kind of going through these series, obviously I want to mainly focus on our menu setup today, but I'll just try to introduce, depending on what time allows, a couple other little features. So one thing I just wanted to show is this QR setup here, QR code setup. So if you go into screen configuration under QR code setup, this could be in a different spot for in your environment. This is just where it is in ours. So if you go into this QR code setup, this is essentially the quick version to set up an iPad to your direct EAM environment. So when you go into the digital work app, it's going to ask you for your settings. You click that settings, and then you can either manually input this, which obviously this is going to take a little bit of time, easy to fat finger a key or two here. What you can do is generate this QR code, and it'll essentially allow you to scan with your iPad, and it'll input both this server URL here as well as the tenant name. So just to kind of save you a little time, especially if you've got 10, 20 people at a time you're trying to set up in your digital work app, you're able to just scan this QR code and it'll input that information directly for you. You can test your connection and then you're good to go after that. So let's go ahead and dive into our user groups here. I'm going to go ahead and pull up our system admin user group for our DTI Academy. Another thing I just want to note here is this digital work app here. So this is where you will set, and we talked about this a little in our last session, but this is where you can set a digital work app for your specific user group. One thing to note is, as you can see, this is a protected field. You cannot edit this after the user group is created. Say you have a user group and it's either that digital work app is, say, an advanced mobile or mobile requester, and you want to change it to that field work option. What you would have to do is create a new user group and to change that digital work app. Once you go and create the record, you would want to make sure that you change that digital work app before you save it. Just a quick way to do that is if you either hit this new record icon or if you hit the copy record. If you copy and you select this copy from, you can copy directly from that user group that you can't change that digital work app with. You go ahead, select that user group, create your new user group. It should bring everything over, and then there you go. You have your correct digital work app set up for you. So just a little another note there. But what I want to go ahead and do is dive into this user group here. So with our digital work menu, very similar, like I said here, to your desktop menu setup here. So you can see there's just a little bit of a different sequencing I've got with the different main menu folders. But what you can do, like I talked about during the slideshow, is you can add the main menu folder, sub-menu folder, delete items. You can rename your folder. So say you have your work orders, say you call it something else in your plant or facility, you can go ahead and rename that work order screen name for you in your Digital Works app. You can also copy the menu. So if you have another user group that you like their menu setup and you just want to copy it over, you just mention what group you want to copy it over from, and it'll bring it over to your current user group. And then you can show hide menu items. For example, this nonconformities screen here is hidden on our user group right now. If I wanted to just go ahead and show it, I would just click that show menu item and it'll pop back up. Just comparing this to our mobile offline other app with HxGN EAM, as you can see, this is going to have a set list of screens and apps, kind of like we talked about last session. You're going to have more limited screens here, and you're not going to have much customization. If you're going to go into this actions here, you can really just show and hide these items versus being able to really edit them, add folders. You're just going to have that one main screen. And then last thing I just want to bring up before we dive into the Digital Work app is I'm going to pull up another user group here. So if I just go into this Digital Work menus, so you can see I've got 6 main menu folders here. I'm going to have a lot of information in these ones. This is going to be perfect for your super user, your person that's going to be using the iPad the most here. If I go into our requester user group, as you can see here, I've just created one main folder and I have 4 different screens here. Just keep in mind that this is called the Work and Recs folder. This is something I named, and it's got 4 screens underneath it. I'm just going to show how this is going to vary if you had your menu set up like this compared to what we had in the other user group that had your 6 main menu items. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and I'm going to share from my iPad now. And this is what I was talking about with this QR code setup, is if you just go into settings, if you go to scan QR code, you could scan that QR code directly here. Obviously, I'm just showing my laptop, but you could scan that QR code and it'll auto-populate that tenant and endpoint. That endpoint is your server URL that you would see in the desktop. I'm gonna go ahead and log in here. And this is gonna be my super user app, or my super user user group here. Okay, so as you can see here, this is our advanced mobile version. This is gonna have a lot of your desktop abilities that you would have in the desktop. Your advanced mobile is going to give you that best version here. So if I go into our menu setup in the left side, you're going to see those 6 main menu folders that we had set up there. If I was to just go in here and show it, obviously I've got multiple subfolders within this work folder. I've got setup, permit to work, and reports. So this is going to be, if you want a user group to have all of this information, you could set it up something similar to like you would have here. 2 things that I'll mention here is the search function. So what you can do is search for a specific screen, and we talked about this a little in the last session, but say I wanted to search for our PO status report. I could type PO status, and it's going to take me right there. Instead of having to go in and try to find this, I go to purchasing, go to reports, and then I go and find this PO status, especially for someone who is a new user, maybe not as familiar with the layout of the menu. That search feature is going to be great for them to use. And then I'll just show you the favorites as well. So say I wanted to favorite this report. I could go ahead and click that star icon here on the top left there. So I just unclicked it. Now I clicked it again. If I go into my favorites, you can see that PO status is open now. I've also got requisitions, work orders as well, and it'll take me directly to the work order screen. So just note here how the favorites and search functions are available. What I'm going to do is go ahead and log out, and I'm going to show us the example of what that requester group that I just showed, what that would look like within the digital work app. So just give me a second to log in here with that other user. Okay, so as you can see, right when you log in, it's going to say HxGN Mobile Requester. That is just the specific digital work app that I'm using with this user group. So as you can see here, this is going to look a lot different from what we saw here. There's only 4 screens that you can check on. And if you remember me showing the digital work menus tab for the specific user group, I did have a work and recs folder. As you can notice, that folder is nowhere to be seen here. So one thing to note when setting up your menu setup for DigitalWorks, if you have one or less folders showing when you set up your digital work menus tab, if you have one or less folders, they will not show up, and basically everything is going to be expanded within that folder. Just a use case here, like a requester app. If you've got someone that's really just doing work requests, maybe some requisition operator checklist, for example, if that user group's only doing this, this could be a great setup for them. Everything is shown here right away. They know exactly where to click. They don't have to go and find and search for everything. And as you notice too, that favorites and the search functions towards the bottom of the menu are not seen here. So if you have one or less folders, not only is that folder going to be expanded and you don't see that folder name, you're also not going to have favorites and your search function available. So just depending on what you're looking for the user group and the specific user you're designing for, just kind of 2 different options that you can do when designing this. So now I'm just going to go ahead and switch my screen back to the presentation. Just to kind of summarize a little bit, we went through the menu setup, just looking at a couple different options of what you can use, just learning a little bit more of how to set that up, maybe design it specifically for your user so they can get the most out of it, spend less time searching for what they want to do, and spend more time within the screen itself. So we'll talk about our screen designer for our next session, and then going into our following 2 sessions, that shortcut icons especially, we might add a little bit more in there depending on time and depending on how long it might take to cover. But that install parameters, that's going to be a really good one, especially changing some of the views that you're looking at within your digital works app. And then still leaving that October 2nd date to be determined for a specific topic. I know we got some feedback from our last call on some maybe sessions that we would maybe want to cover during that. So we're just keeping that open. Feel free to provide any feedback that you have or things you may be wanting to see with this series. With that being said, I'll pass it back over to Alex to close us out.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. Thanks for a great session this morning. As Jordan did mention, we would love to hear your feedback and love to hear what you'd like to see more of. So with a recording of this presentation, there's going to be an email coming out probably within the next hour and a half. Link to this recording. It's also going to have a survey feature in there, so please click the button to fill out a survey so we can get your feedback on how to improve this. I know surveys are annoying and they can be a real pain in the ass, but we can only get better from what you tell us you would like to see more of and maybe what we're not doing right. So with that being said, I would love to open the floor up to any questions. If anybody has any questions they want to discuss. If not, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. I hope you have a great week and a great weekend, and we'll see you next week if there are no questions. Asked, are requester licenses able to trigger an approval workflow from the requester license from the digital work app? Does that make sense, Jordan?
Yeah, so I think, are you able to
and I might just unmute after question. So you have microphone access if you want to talk a little bit more about your question.
Hey, how's it going? It's Arlen. So I just wanted to ask, I've been doing some testing and I'm just wondering, I'm having troubles triggering an approval workflow from the requester digital work app. So basically it's coming down to within the work request screen, the requester only has access to the work request screen, not work orders. And I was just wondering if you guys have had success in triggering an approval workflow within that work request screen.
No, I don't have any specific details on that, I'd be happy to look into that and get back with you on it. I will say that I think you kind of nailed on the head there. I think preventing that access to not having access to that work order screen is probably playing a role into that with that requester user group. Probably something like the Fieldwork app is going to work better, but I'd be happy to try and test that and just get back to you on that and see what I can find. So
yeah, that'd be great. I think with the promotion of the requester license being flexible, I think that's a really good value add for that requester license. And I just think if that's not doable, it might be worthwhile to implement. So just kind of a feedback, but.
Right. And when you mention the approval workflows, you're talking about the new kind of brand new feature that HxGN's rolled out in the last, what, probably year or so?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yep.
For 12.1.1, I've been testing around with it. So yeah.
Okay.
If it helps, Arlen, Jordan will look into it, and we did this last session as well. We'll look into it and do the testing portion of it, and then once we determine what the success function of it is, we'll just create a brief either how-to video or explanation video of that specific instance, and then we'll drop it on our YouTube, and I'll email it to you directly once we get it made and published, and then we'll also put that as part of the email that goes out later as well. So happy to do that.
Excellent. I appreciate that. I know it's certainly an ask from some of our clients, so that sounds great.
See Doris saying she wants to see more e-signature, review steps, work, dynamic checklists. Dynamic checklist, I think, would be great, Jordan. Just tucking that one away.
Dynamic checklist, that's another new feature that I know I've done a lot with in the past year or so. It's a great one. Basically, you're able to basically control what pops up based on a specific answer on your checklist. So that would be, I think, definitely something to go through. I think Rebecca might have even done a video on that potentially. I know that's something that we've talked through before too. So, but yeah, dynamic checklist would be a great one to go through. So
good deal. Yeah, great suggestions, Dora. Thanks for dropping those in the chat. If anybody else has a question, I know we're about 6 minutes past the time of when we said we would end these meetings. We try to keep them short. At least the demo portion was short. Questions can always go over a little bit. But we appreciate everybody being here. We'll let you get back to your day. If you do have any other questions outside of this, don't hesitate to reach out to anybody on the Digital Thinker team, Jordan or myself, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. But take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time. Thanks again, everybody.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Yep, thanks, Arlen.